And with all that, we want to bring this to a close with the remarks of our dear President Donald Trump and Bobby Kennedy Jr. This was a few days ago. And this amazing, amazing statements were made concerning the health of our children in the United States of America and this autism epidemic that we have been seeing in these last primarily 20 years, which I am very closely connected to because one of my dear friends, his son is autistic and became autistic after getting vaccinated. That's what happened. That my friend, not going to, drop his name, but I can tell you he is my friend. He lives in Arkansas. There you go. I can tell you exactly, where he's at, okay? My friend, he has his oldest son, and what my friend has told me a tremendous number of times is that when his oldest son was 2 years old, they went to the hospital, and the doctor wanted to vaccinate his son. And my friend told him, no, don't do it. He leaves the room with and the child's with the doctor, and this was just absolutely tragic, comes back in, finds the doctor actually doing it. That the doctor, against the father's own wishes, vaccinated the child. And my friend tells me that his child almost immediately afterwards changed. Everything about his behavior changed, and he began having all of these problems in his stomach and in his gut and everything, and was, from that point forward, autistic. And praise God, has been through rigorous strict dietary regimens, has been improving in these last, several years. But from the age of 2 to like the age of 4 to age of 5 even, it was just hell. Absolute hell, because this child was vaccinated and immediately became autistic because of it. And that's just a personal witness, but I know there's many others, many tens of thousands of others that have the exact same type of experience. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop, and it needs to stop immediately. And here's President Trump with Bobby Kennedy Jr. that are looking to put a stop to it, and it's a beautiful thing. So let's give this a watch just for the first about 8 minutes or so.
Today, we're delighted to be joined by America's top medical and public health professionals as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And he and I don't know, the word got out, and I wouldn't say that people were very understanding of where we were, but it's turning out that we understood a lot more than a lot of people who studied it, we think. And I say we think because I don't think they were really letting the public know what they knew. Thanks as well to the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary. These are great people. Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Acting Assistant Secretary of HHS, Dr. Dorothy Fink. So thank
And I certainly wish that they were also involving Andrew Wakefield. Anyone who's not familiar with Andrew Wakefield, you really got to check him out. He's, absolutely phenomenal. He's one of the primary voices out there that years and years ago, even, well over a decade ago, raised the alarm about autism and one of the primary causes of autism and all of these vaccines and all of the crap that's in the vaccines, like mercury and formaldehyde and glycol, aluminum, all of these things that are in these modern vaccines, and the enormous number of vaccines that are given to children, even infant children, babies, is one of the primary reasons that has led to this explosion in autism rates. And so definitely make sure that you check out Andrew Andrew Wakefield.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dorothy, very much. The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it. 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California, where they have for some reason, a more severe problem.
I can tell you why California has the most severe problem when it comes to autism. And you know the answer. And it's not just a physical answer, but it's also a spiritual answer. The physical, mental, and spiritual answer as to why California is the worst when it comes to children with autism is that California, majority, they're in all the evil. In all of the evil and the full embracing of the evil of the left. And you're going to be seeing how immediately after these remarks, these statements from our president and Bobby Kennedy Jr. about the things that they have uncovered, they have seen, not just about the vaccines, but also about Tylenol, the giving of Tylenol to pregnant women and to infant children has contributed to the extreme rise of autism. And what do the left do? What do these libs do? They immediately are taking Tylenol in huge quantities just to spite Trump. I mean, you're talking about TDS. You're talking about Trump derangement syndrome. How about a pregnant mother who, just to spite Trump, takes Tylenol just because, Trump says this contributes to autism rates? I'm just out of spite. I'm going to do this. I am going to risk the health and future of my own child just out of my hatred for Donald Trump. That's where they are. That is who these demons are.
But whether it's 1 in 12 or 1 in 31, can you imagine? That's down from 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And now we're at the level of 1 in 12 in some cases for boys. 1 in 31 overall. So since 2000, autism rates have surged by much more than 400%. Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first day all of these great doctors behind me were there, I told them this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000 and then you go to 12, there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah. Virtually, I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example.
What an extraordinary statement, incredible statement from the President of the United States of America, that when it comes to groups like the Amish that religiously are opposed to pills and vaccines, autism rates among the Amish are pretty much non-existent, if not entirely non-existent. Doesn't happen. So what has happened over these last 20, 30, 40 years that has contributed, that has been this total change in our lifestyles that has contributed to this, where we would go from 1 in 20,000 to now 1 in 31 or even 1 in 12 when it talks about the boys, particularly in the state of California. Something has changed about our lifestyle. Something has happened. And the answer is with the vaccines, It's with the medications, the insane level of medications. It's with the GMO foods, all of the garbage that we eat, the highly processed foods. Yeah, all of these things contribute. It's the fluoridated water, it's the polluted air. There's a theory that's called, and I myself very much so believe that this is accurate, that it's called toxic overload. Toxic overload is the theory, and Andrew Wakefield talks about this as well, is that when it comes to the human body, the human machine, it truly is fearfully and wonderfully made by God Almighty. But and it can take a lot. I mean, the human body can go through a tremendous amount and not break. But if you put enough poison into the human body, there is a breaking point. There is a point where you've gone too far, you've crossed the line, and the system breaks down. The brain breaks down. The body breaks down. If you're putting things into the temple that shouldn't belong in the temple, the body can handle so much. But if you have toxic overload from the corrupt, defiled, awful food that we eat, the GMOs, the polluted water, the polluted air that we breathe, and all of the medications and all of the vaccines, you put enough of it into the human system and it'll break. That is the reason behind all of this explosion in the rise of autism rates. However, if you're eating clean and you're exercising regularly and you're drinking clean water and you are doing everything humanly possible to live a healthy lifestyle and don't get this crap, the vaccines. Don't get it. My two children, my two daughters, a needle has never touched them and never will. As long as I can help it, never will. And they are healthy and lively and super intelligent. That's just the way it is. They eat right for the most part. Okay, we can all splurge on some candy and some ice cream from time to time, but eating right, drinking right, avoiding the vaccines, avoiding the heavy medications, and if the American people did that, you would see autism rates plummet, totally plummet, and we would see the obesity epidemic go away.
They have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire. And you shouldn't give the child a Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all. But if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. The other thing that I can tell you that I'll say that they will maybe say at a little bit later date, but I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine.
No mercury. Get the aluminum out of the vaccines, because these are heavy metals that once they are in your system, you cannot get them out. That is a fact. You inject these vaccines that have the aluminum and have the mercury, and the heavy metals go into your brain, and they are there permanently. Cannot get them out. I mean, you're basically looking at going down to the grave, and you're going to have to wait to the resurrection before all of that stuff is out of your system, because it is there till you die. And when you have these little babies that have this, they get injected, as President Trump's talking about, like 80 vaccines into these little babies. Toxic overload to the utmost degree. They have done this intentionally. They desire to destroy the people of the West, the people of the United States of America, primarily. They desire to destroy us when it comes to the globalists, when it comes to the pharmaceutical industries. They have an agenda, and the agenda is to poison and to destroy us. So, huge steps. If you're going to get vaccinated at all, which I would recommend you don't get vaccinated at all. But if you were to get vaccinated, spread it out over years of time, and they're getting the mercury, they're getting the aluminum out of these vaccines. That's a tremendous, step in the, big step in the right direction. Avoid, for pregnant women, avoid the Tylenol. For babies, avoid the Tylenol. These are all wonderful, wonderful things.
The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and all the 3 should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate, because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it 4 for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you...
And that's one of the things, we'll stop the video right there, but that's just one of the things that is so utterly insane when it comes to the vaccine regimen that these babies go through. Not only is the amount of the vaccines utterly ridiculous and evil, but they're giving babies hepatitis B a sexually transmitted disease? Like, what are you've got to be out of your mind. You have to be out of your mind. Why on earth would you have a baby given a hepatitis B vaccine? I mean, this is the lunacy of the pharmaceutical industry, or I'm even going to say the evil of the pharmaceutical industry, and it should just be avoided. Avoid it and watch your children thrive. And that's something that I can absolutely say, personal experience. Once again, my 2 girls, no needle ever has touched them. No needle, as far as I am concerned, as far as I have authority over them, no needle ever will touch them. Now, when they're adults and they, are making their own decisions, that's on them. But I'm raising them in that truth that you avoid this stuff. You avoid this stuff. And I'm certainly going to be making sure that my grandchildren avoid this stuff. That if we eat right and avoid all of the toxic overload crap, then we're not going to be having these problems. The obesity will go away. The autism, likewise, will go away. But certainly it won't go away as long as we have these leftist total nut jobs. This is from Matt Walsh earlier today. Leftist pregnant women on TikTok are downing Tylenol out of spite. We're going to give this just a quick watch to show that I am utterly convinced, absolutely convinced, that whatever President Trump says, the left will do the exact opposite of that, entirely out of spite. It's like I posted this on X, that Trump cures cancer. Curing cancer is racist. We have the right to die from our cancer. We want our cancer back. I am 100% confident this is exactly how the liberals would react. Totally. Like, I am confident that if President Trump came out and said something like, it has been proven that the breathing of pure oxygen, pure oxygen, and the decrease of breathing in, say, carbon dioxide, then the more likely you are to be conservative, to be on the political right. Something like that, some, totally retarded statement like that. The breathing of oxygen, will make you, more conservative. I'm absolutely confident you will see liberals putting plastic bags over their head and suffocating themselves. Like that is a thing. That would happen, okay? That's where they are. That is how demonic these people are. That out of spite, they'd be like, President Trump says, I'm breathing oxygen. I'm going to become a conservative, put a plastic bag. Or if he said something like, the breathing oxygen, is I don't know, whatever the example is, they would do it. They would do the exact opposite of what President Trump says, entirely out of spite. And here we can see it. It's so insane, very difficult to watch, and because it's just these are babies. These are babies who have done no wrong. They're entirely innocent. And the mothers, entirely out of spite and hatred for President Trump, they're going like, oh, my baby, that Trump says that I shouldn't be taking Tylenol. Well, I'm going to be taking huge amounts of Tylenol. Let's give this a quick watch.
A very good position to judge the hordes of pregnant liberal women on TikTok who are currently slamming down Tylenol on camera for the sole purpose of telling Donald Trump who's boss. And this is a phenomenon that has predictably taken hold very, very quickly. Within hours of Trump's press conference, the pill bottles came out. Watch.
28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm going to take? Some Tylenol to acetaminophen. It's going to work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
I'm going to mute this just because YouTube being YouTube, when it comes to music, they're going to, copyright that. So let's mute the music. But this says, me popping Tylenol while pregnant because WTF is the government going to do about it? So once again, just muted for the sake of getting rid of the music. This next clip also has music, so we'll keep it muted. here's this pregnant woman. She's dancing here to this music, and she grabs all of these bottles. She has all these bottles of Tylenol, taking the Tylenol just entirely out of spite. Now we can get back to Matt.
It would be interesting to know how much Tylenol was consumed when these women were in the womb themselves. That'd be a valuable data point for Harvard and Mount Sinai. Really, there's only two options here. Either these women are desperately hoping to give birth to the next Greta Thunberg, or they're risking the health of their children for some likes on TikTok. I mean, neither option is good, but that's what we're left with. Again, I'm no doctor, but none of these women appear to actually need Tylenol at the moment. They don't seem to be in any kind of distress. Seems they're just taking it to take it. They're taking it out of spite. I mean, as a general rule, I would say, and you don't need a medical degree to say this, that taking any kind of pharmaceutical out of spite is always wrong. That's never a good reason to ingest any kind of chemical into your body, is out of spite.
Never, ever a good reason. But this is where we see the left just out of sheer total hatred for President Trump, hatred for Bobby Kennedy Jr., who, by the way, the vast majority of Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s life and his political career has been Democrat, okay? And they loved him for so many years, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, he's now with Trump. We're going to hate him. They did the exact same with Elon Musk. They did the exact same with Tulsi Gabbard. All three of those were Democrat for the vast majority of their lives, but they side with Trump, and now they have hatred for all of these people. And they will entirely out of spite, they will risk the health and the future, the life of their child. There really are no words to describe the evil, the genuine evil of these people on the left.